Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 3 of July 2025. Donald Trump announced a 50% tariff on copper imports into the US. This decision worries India's electronics and semiconductor industries. India relies on imported high-purity copper. The tariff could disrupt India's chip manufacturing efforts. Industry leaders urge the Indian government to invest in domestic copper production. They also want streamlined import procedures. India's Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities are experiencing a surge in IT hiring, outperforming major tech hubs in the first half of 2025. These smaller cities witnessed over 50% growth in IT jobs, driven by improved digital infrastructure, government initiatives, and the rise of remote work. Over 300 Indian companies became debt-free in financial year 25. Collectively doubling their cash reserves to Rs 50,463 crore. This trend, indicating India Inc.'s cautious approach to new investments, despite recent repo rate cuts, reflects a preference for balance sheet strength, equity funding, and asset-light strategies. E-commerce giant Flipkart has rolled out a new liquidity event for eligible employees holding vested stock options. Employees who are with the company between July 6, 2022 and July 5, 2025 will have the option to sell up to 5% of their vested ESOPs. The buyback price is set at Rs 174.32 per option, with disbursements scheduled for next month. The total size of the buyback will be around $50 million, potentially benefiting between 7,000 and 7,500 employees. Volumes on India's thriving futures and options dropped nearly a fifth last week after Securities and Exchange Board of India's ban on New York-based quantitative trading firm Jane Street for alleged market manipulation. The recovery to the recent peak in trading activity may not happen immediately, which may squeeze exchanges' earnings. Blinkit is overhauling the way it works with sellers on its platform, shifting to a model where it will directly sell to customers and hold inventory on its books. The Zomato-owned quick commerce company has begun notifying partners about this change, which will come into effect from September 1st. As part of the transition, Blinkit will no longer require sellers to maintain multiple additional places of business under the GST registrations for every state where the company operates. Until now, sellers had to declare additional place of business in each state where the inventory was stored in Blinkit's dark stores, and often secure separate FSSAI licenses as well. This created a significant compliance load, especially for small and mid-sized brands scaling across geographies. Viceroy Research has criticized Vedanta's annual general meeting. They called it a stage-managed event. Proxy advisor InGovern defended Vedanta's structure. InGovern stated such structures are common in capital-intensive industries. They cited Adani Group, Tata Group, and Reliance Industries as examples. InGovern also cautioned about short seller reports. They highlighted potential conflicts of interest and regulatory oversight issues. The Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India has established a committee. This is to assess license applications from 2 general insurers. The move follows a 4-month vacancy in the chairman's position. The panel will evaluate proposals from M. Palanji Group and Kiwi General Insurance. The committee includes members from life, non-life, and actuary departments. The National Financial Reporting Authority has approved amendments to 7 Indian accounting standards, with the most notable changes introduced in Ind AS 109, India's principal accounting standard for financial instruments. The proposals were unanimously approved at NFRA's board meeting held on June 10, 2025, and are now set to be forwarded to the Ministry of Corporate Affairs for final notification. If notified, the revised standards will become effective from April 1, 2026. Around 40,000 taxpayers have revised their income tax returns in the past 4 months, withdrawing fraudulent claims worth Rs 1,045 crore following a large-scale crackdown by the Income Tax Department on bogus deductions and exemptions. The Income Tax Department said the move came after a series of outreach efforts including SMS alerts, emails, and physical programs were made across various locations, nudging taxpayers towards voluntary compliance. CBDT initiated a large-scale verification operation across multiple locations in the country on Monday, targeting individuals and entities facilitating fraudulent claims of deductions and exemptions in income tax returns. This action follows a detailed analysis of the misuse of tax benefits under the Income Tax Act 1961, often in collusion with professional intermediaries. Singapore state investor Temasek is looking to invest more in Indian family-run businesses months after it invested $1 billion in a popular domestic snacks company. Family businesses in India with the multi-generational legacies, strong domestic brands, and loyal customers have become attractive for global investors in recent years. In March, Temasek bought a 10% stake in Haldiram's at a valuation of around $10 billion, with sources describing it as a prized asset that will help investors expand its focus on India's consumer sector. IPO-bound AI company Fractal bags $170 million at $2.44 billion valuation. The buyers include 22 investors and funds advised by Trust Investment Advisors, as well as funds managed by White Oak Capital Management, Gaja Capital, and Neo Asset Management. The unicorn is eyeing to list on the exchanges following an IPO worth $400 to $500 million, which could value the company close to $3 billion. Lenders of debt-laden JP Associates are facing a dilemma over Adani Enterprises' Rs 12,600 crore unconditional bid, which is not the highest but offers clarity and assurance. Other bidders like Dalmia Cement, Jindal Power, and Vedanta have submitted higher but conditional offers, primarily tied to unresolved land disputes. Under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, lenders can accept an unconditional bid even if it's not the highest. India's insurance regulator, IRDAI, is proposing to double investment limits for insurers in REITs and InvITs, aiming to channel more long-term capital into infrastructure and real estate. The regulator is also considering allowing insurers to invest in gold ETFs under ULIPs with a cap of 5% of a segregated fund's assets. The Securities and Exchange Board of India has released an updated master circular for real estate investment trusts and infrastructure investment trusts to streamline regulatory information and enhance ease of reference for stakeholders. The master circular compiles all existing circulars on REITs and InvITs issued by SEBI till the cutoff date. This includes operational guidelines, compliance requirements, disclosure norms, valuation principles, and governance frameworks. The Accounting Standards Board of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has released 3 tentative agenda decisions received from the IFRS Interpretations Committee. These decisions address interpretive issues under the newly issued IFRS 18 Presentation and Disclosure in Financial Statements, as well as IFRS 9 Financial Instruments, promoting consistency in accounting practice across India. All three tentative agenda decisions are open for public comment. The deadline for submissions is August 25th, 2025. Comments can be submitted via the ICAI online portal. India's global capability centers experienced increased hiring in the first quarter of fiscal year 2026. Recruitment focused on specific skills like AI and cyber security. BFSI, manufacturing, automotive, energy, and technology sectors drove demand. Tier 2 cities like Coimbatore and Kochi showed significant growth. However, talent shortages persist in advanced digital roles. Bengaluru remains the top paying market for specialized skills. More than 130 UK companies are generating $6.5 billion in annual value through their Global Capability Centers or GCCs in India. These India-based GCCs currently employ around 200,000 professionals and support operations across financial services, software, engineering, media, and retail sectors. Firms including Barclays, HSBC, GSK, Unilever, Vodafone, Rolls-Royce, and Tesco are using the Indian centers to drive AI-led R&D, digital product development, and platform engineering. Operating costs in India are up to 50% lower than in the UK, enabling companies to scale without compromising quality. More than 90% of these centers now operate as multifunctional hubs. A parliamentary panel suggests reinstating a key deduction dealing with the deduction available for intercorporate dividends be restored in the Income Tax Bill 2025. This move offers relief to India Inc. by preventing double taxation on intercorporate dividends. The recommendation, part of over 285 accepted tweaks, aims to revive Section 80M. The revamped income tax law is expected to swiftly pass in the upcoming monsoon session of Parliament. Several private equity firms are vying for a stake in Tessolve. Hero Electronics is considering divesting a 30% share in the semiconductor company. The deal could value Tessolve at $450 million. Advent International, TPG Growth, and others are in the due diligence phase. Binding bids are expected soon. Jefferies is advising on the stake sale. The ICAI has recently released a set of FAQs on the guidance note for financial statements of non-corporate entities to support consistent application and better understanding of the requirements. In addition to those FAQs, this document compiles an expanded set of practical questions and answers, including key clarifications on disclosure, accounting standards, audit implications, and presentation formats. A comparative table with Schedule 3 is also included to help users understand how the guidance note differs from corporate reporting requirements. This serves as a practical reference for professionals dealing with non-corporate entities reporting from April 1st, 2024 onwards. The job market has turned upbeat for gig workers ahead of the festive season, with over 216,000 seasonal jobs likely to be offered in the second half of 2025. The seasonal job openings in the second half of 2025 will be 15 to 20% higher than the corresponding period last year. The expected rise in demand for temporary workers is also forcing companies to advance their recruitment cycle to stay ahead of the demand and ensure operational readiness during the stronger than usual festive season this year. Fundraising through Qualified Institutional Placements or QIPs saw a revival in June after a tepid first 5 months of 2025 and is set for a robust second half as the market rebound has brought back favorable valuations and liquidity support for big ticket issuances by corporates. In the first 5 months of 2025, 13 firms raised Rs 15,408 crore through QIPs compared to 30 firms that raised Rs 29,518 crore in the same period in 2024. But in June 2025 alone, 7 companies raised Rs 14,085 crore. In June 2024, 7 companies had cumulatively raised Rs 3,009 crore through QIPs. State Bank of India, the country's largest lender, on Wednesday announced the launch of a share sale to institutional investors to raise Rs 25,000 crore. SBI further said the bank may offer a discount of not more than 5% on the floor price calculated for the QIP, while the issue price will be determined by the bank in consultation with the book-running lead managers. India's electronics industry has flagged informal trade curbs by China as a serious risk to the country's smartphone export goals, which aim to hit $32 billion this fiscal. In a letter to the government, industry body ICAI warned that China is deploying unnotified but deliberate restrictions on capital equipment, minerals, and technical personnel that are delaying shipments, inflating costs, and undermining India's rise as a global manufacturing hub. The government has appointed Nitin Gupta, former chairman of CBDT, as the chairperson of the National Financial Reporting Authority or NFRA. The post of the NFRA chairperson has been lying vacant after the 3-year tenure of Ajay Bhushan Prasad Pandey ended on March 31st. In April, the government gave the Competition Commission of India Chief Ravneet Kaur the additional charge as the NFRA chairperson. India's office REIT market is experiencing robust growth, driven by strong leasing demand from global capability centers and a preference for institutional grade assets. Office REIT stocks have outperformed the BSE Realty Index, delivering significant capital appreciation. A fourth office REIT is expected to debut by the end of 2025, further expanding the market. High net worth individuals and ultra high net worth individuals in India are increasingly investing in unlisted stocks and global opportunities, driven by greater access to information, wealth generated from ESOPs, and an evolving advisory landscape that caters to their aggressive investment preferences, particularly in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Several platforms such as Incred Money, SharesCart, and Unlisted Zone offer easy access to trade unlisted securities. Hexaware Technologies has entered into 2 separate share purchase agreements on July 17, 2025 for the acquisition of Tech SMC Square India and Tech SMC Squared GCC India. The acquisition, valued at up to $120 million, will be an all-cash transaction. Within India, the Global Capability Center segment is witnessing exponential growth, with the market projected to exceed $100 billion by 2030. This presents a significant opportunity for Hexaware to expand its footprint and deepen its capabilities in the space. IFC, part of the World Bank Group, is in talks to invest $250 million for a 30% stake in Renew Power's commercial and industry energy unit, valuing the business at around $800 million. The unit supplies renewable power to clients like Amazon and Microsoft. But the deal may be delayed as Renew's top brass focus on delisting their US-listed parent company. The move is part of Renew's broader capital strategy, having already raised $680 million over the past 3 years. Reliance Retail, led by Isha Ambani, has acquired American appliance manufacturer Kelvinator, aiming to expand its presence in the consumer durables market. This acquisition combines Reliance's extensive retail network with Kelvinator's established brand reputation and legacy of innovation. Reliance Retail intends to leverage Kelvinator's brand equity to enhance its offerings across various appliance categories, targeting growth and deeper consumer engagement. Markets regulator SEBI on Friday proposed to review the categorization of mutual fund schemes in a bid to improve clarity and address the issue of overlap in portfolios of schemes. The proposal came after SEBI noted a significant overlap of portfolios in some schemes and felt the necessity to introduce clear limits to the industry to avoid schemes with similar portfolios. In its consultation paper, SEBI suggested that mutual funds should be permitted to offer both value and contra funds subject to the condition that no more than 50% of the scheme's portfolios would overlap at any point in time. The Securities and Exchange Board of India has released a consultation paper proposing a revision in the valuation methodology for physical gold and silver held by exchange-traded funds. The new methodology, if implemented, would lead to uniform valuation norms ensuring fair and consistent pricing across all fund houses offering gold and silver ETFs. SEBI has invited public comments and stakeholder feedback on the proposal. Last date to submit comments is August 6, 2025. Stakeholders including fund houses, investors and industry experts are encouraged to review the paper and submit their suggestions for consideration. The Securities and Exchange Board of India has released an updated master circular for portfolio managers, consolidating all relevant regulatory provisions, guidelines and directives issued up to March 31, 2025 into a single comprehensive document. With the issuance of this master circular, all earlier circulars and directions issued by SEBI relating to portfolio managers have been rescinded, ensuring that stakeholders now refer to a unified, updated regulatory framework. Jio Financial Services on Friday announced that it has entered into a binding agreement to form a 50-50 domestic reinsurance joint venture with Allianz Group. The Munich-based group, through its wholly owned subsidiary Allianz Europe BV, acted on the deal. The two firms also entered into a non-binding agreement for setting up equally owned joint ventures for both general and life insurance businesses in India. The two financial services brands are coming together to deliver innovative and holistic protection solutions to the people of India. Individuals and Hindu undivided families having taxable capital gains income can now start filing income tax returns ITR2 for the financial year 2024-25. Income tax return form ITR2 is now enabled for filing through the online mode with pre-filled data at the e-filing portal. Last month, the tax department had enabled the online utility for filing ITR 1 and 4, which are simpler forms that cater to small and medium taxpayers.
This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.